Albert Einstein, The Life, Work, and Legacy of a Genius. Albert Einstein was born the 14th of March 1879 in Ulm, in the Kingdom of Württemberg, German Empire. His father, Hermann Einstein, was a salesman and later an engineer who ran an electrochemical business, while his mother, Pauline Koch, was musically talented and had a deep appreciation for culture. Family background: Jewish, though not particularly religious. Sibling: his younger sister, Maha, was born 2 years later. Myth busting: despite the popular story, Einstein did not speak late due to low intelligence. He spoke full sentences by the age of 3, though his quiet, reflective manner gave rise to the late talker legend. From an early age, Einstein showed two traits that would define his scientific style: Deep curiosity. He was fascinated by nature and invisible forces. Independent thinking. He resisted rote learning. A famous childhood moment occurred when his father showed him a magnetic compass. Little Albert was mesmerized. He later said this sparked his lifelong wonder about invisible forces acting at a distance. Chapter 2, Schooling and Struggles with Authority, 1895 to 1900. Einstein attended a Catholic elementary school and later the Luitpold Gymnasium in Munich. He excelled in math and physics but struggled with rigid discipline and the emphasis on memorization. At age 15, his father's business failed, and the family moved to Italy. Einstein stayed behind to finish school but dropped out, fed up with the authoritarian style of teaching. He rejoined his family in Pavia and decided to apply to the Swiss Federal Polytechnic in Zurich. Key moment. Einstein failed the non-science portions of the entrance exam but scored so high in math and physics that the school encouraged him to complete secondary education in Aarau, Switzerland. This year in Aarau, under a more liberal education system, deeply shaped his thinking. By 1900, he graduated from the Polytechnic with a teaching diploma in physics and mathematics. Chapter 3. The Wandering Clerk, Years, 1900 to 1905. Despite his degree, Einstein could not secure a teaching job, partly because professors didn't see him as obedient enough for academia. In 1902, he finally got a position at the Swiss Patent Office in Bern, reviewing inventions. This period was crucial. The job allowed him to work steadily while giving him free time to think about fundamental physics problems. He formed the Olympia Academy, a discussion group with friends Maurice Solovine and Conrad Habicht, debating philosophy and science. Chapter 4, Annus Mirabilis, The Miracle Year, 1905. At age 26, Einstein published 4 groundbreaking papers in the journal Annalen der Physik. Photoelectric effect, explained how light could eject electrons from metal using quantum ideas. Nobel Prize later awarded for this in 1921. Brownian motion provided statistical proof for the existence of atoms. Special relativity revolutionized concepts of space and time. Mass-energy equivalence introduced the formula E equals mc squared. This single year established Einstein as one of the most original minds in physics. Chapter 5, Academic Recognition, 1905 to 1914. After his 1905 papers, Einstein was quickly invited to academic posts. Lecturer at the University of Bern, 1908. Professor at Zurich, 1909, Professor in Prague, 1911, returned to Zurich, 1912. Professor at Zurich, 1909, Professor in Prague, 1911, returned to Zurich, 1912. Chapter 6, General Relativity and World Fame, 1915 to 1921. From 1907 to 1915, Einstein worked obsessively on general relativity, a theory describing gravity not as a force but as the curvature of spacetime caused by mass. In 1919, British astronomer Arthur Eddington confirmed Einstein's predictions about the bending of starlight during a solar eclipse. This catapulted Einstein into global celebrity status. In 1922, awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics, for the photoelectric effect. In 1920s, advocated for pacifism and Zionism. In 1933, with the Nazi rise to power, Einstein, a Jew, was targeted. He emigrated to the United States and took a position at Princeton University. Chapter 8, Later Years and Moral Dilemmas, 1933 to 1955. At Princeton's Institute for Advanced Study, Einstein worked on a unified field theory to reconcile gravity and electromagnetism but never completed it. Key historical moments. 1939. Co-signed a letter to Roosevelt warning about nuclear weapons, leading to the Manhattan Project, though he opposed war. Post-World War II, advocated for nuclear disarmament, civil rights, and world government. Einstein died on the 18th of April 1955 at age 76. His brain was preserved for study, but his body was cremated. Legacy. Scientific, revolutionized physics with relativity and quantum contributions. Cultural, symbol of genius and moral courage. Philosophical, champion of curiosity, imagination, and skepticism toward authority. Einstein's rebellious nature didn't just appear in adulthood, it was evident in his teenage years. While still in Munich, he clashed frequently with teachers who preferred rote memorization. Once, after being reprimanded for questioning an assignment's logic, he told a teacher that their approach stifled the mind. This kind of outspokenness was dangerous in 1890s Germany, where classroom discipline was strict. When he left school at 15 without a diploma, people thought he had sabotaged his own career. In reality, that choice opened the door for him to enter Switzerland's more liberal education system, a move he later credited for nurturing his independent thinking. Einstein met Mileva Maric at the Swiss Federal Polytechnic. She was the only woman in his class and one of the few female physics students in Europe at the time. They studied together, debated physics, and exchanged love letters filled with equations and scientific musings. Some historians have argued that Mileva may have contributed to Einstein's early work, possibly even the 1905 papers, though evidence remains debated. Einstein never publicly credited her scientifically, but in letters he sometimes referred to our work. Whether she was a collaborator or simply a supportive intellectual partner remains an open historical question.
Working at the Swiss Patent Office gave Einstein a unique advantage. Unlike academic scientists who often specialized narrowly, Einstein saw a broad range of engineering designs, electrical devices, communication systems, and mechanical inventions. This exposure to practical technology may have sharpened his ability to simplify problems and think in unconventional ways. His boss, Friedrich Haller, described him as a model clerk who could explain complex designs more clearly than the inventors themselves. But Einstein was secretly conducting mental experiments, imagining, for example, what it would be like to ride alongside a beam of light. Einstein rarely relied on elaborate laboratory setups. Instead, he used Gedankenexperimente, thought experiments, to explore concepts. Some examples. Riding a light beam led to special relativity. An elevator in space helped him develop the principle of equivalence in general relativity. A train in a platform with lightning strikes illustrated the relativity of simultaneity. These mental scenarios allowed him to bypass technological limitations and explore extreme conditions long before they could be tested physically. Einstein wasn't just a scientist, he was a passionate political thinker. He opposed militarism and nationalism, especially after witnessing the devastation of World War I. He spoke openly against the Nazi regime even before Hitler took power, which put him on their hit list. He supported Zionism, not in a strictly religious sense, but as a cultural and educational movement for Jews. In the United States, he also campaigned for civil rights and befriended African American activists like Paul Robeson and W.E.B. Du Bois. The FBI, under J. Edgar Hoover, kept a file on him more than 1,400 pages long. Albert Einstein's early years were filled with both comfort and instability. Born into a moderately successful family in Ulm, he experienced the security of a warm household but also the uncertainty of frequent moves due to his father's changing business fortunes. Even as a boy, he preferred solitary exploration to group play. He was not antisocial. Around the age of 5, Einstein encountered an object that left a lasting imprint, a simple pocket compass. Watching the needle swing toward the north without any visible force in play bewildered him. It planted a seed in his mind. If unseen forces could govern a needle's movement, what other invisible principles might govern the universe? This was no fleeting curiosity, it became a quiet obsession, one that eventually shaped his life's work. Leaving Germany for Switzerland during his teen years was more than a geographic relocation, it was a mental liberation. The school in Aarau treated students as individuals capable of independent judgment, not as mere recipients of rote instruction. Here, Einstein thrived. Teachers encouraged debates, welcomed unusual questions, and allowed The correspondence between Einstein and Mileva Maric reveals a relationship of intellectual companionship mixed with personal strain. In their letters, they exchanged both romantic sentiments and technical discussions. They analyzed theoretical problems side by side, reflecting a shared passion for physics. However, as Einstein's professional The formal presentation of general relativity in 1915 was not immediately met with universal acceptance. It took the 1919 solar eclipse, observed by expeditions in Africa and South America, to confirm his predictions about the bending of light near the sun. When Einstein was an odd sort of public figure. While many famous individuals pursued publicity, he often wished to escape it. Invitations poured in from universities, governments, and scientific societies across continents. In Japan, he was treated like royalty. In the United States, he drew crowds as if he were a movie star. Reporters followed him everywhere, eager for a quote. He sometimes answered playfully, other times with sharp philosophical reflections. Fame, he noted, was a mask that people mistake for the face. While many physicists embraced the probabilistic framework of quantum theory, Einstein remained skeptical. To him, the idea that events at the atomic level occurred purely by chance was unsatisfying. He engaged in decades-long discussions with colleagues. Particularly Niels Bohr, about the completeness of quantum mechanics. Although the prevailing scientific community accepted quantum uncertainty, Einstein never fully abandoned the hope for a more deterministic explanation of nature. Manhattan Project. In later years, Einstein expressed sorrow that his name had been linked to such destructive power, insisting that his intent had been preventive rather than aggressive. Einstein's time at the Institute for Advanced Study was marked by quiet routine. He often walked to work with friends, discussing physics or politics. His office was sparse, filled with stacks of papers, books, and a blackboard covered with equations that sometimes stayed. Unchanged for months. He was approachable to students and colleagues, but selective about engaging in detailed debates. He preferred deep conceptual discussions over long technical proofs. After his passing, the removal of his brain without consent became one of the most controversial episodes in modern medical ethics. Pieces of his brain traveled from lab to lab for decades, some stored in glass jars, others mounted on microscope slides. Studies claimed to find structural differences, but none offered a definitive explanation for his intellectual capacity. Many concluded that his genius was as much a product of his mindset and perseverance as of biology.